Hey guys, sorry to speak from Earthwalker Primitive. You see my H videos, my introduction for this year of the different the kit that I designed and put together for the season. In the H2 video, which is home, you saw that I had I had a poncho and a tarp that I use for shelters, and we're going to be going over a couple videos on some basic shelter building, some basic shelters that we can make with that kit that I've set up and put together. And one of the things that you see me in the H2 video talk about was my ridge line that I had pre-made and put out. Now you can use pretty much any kind of cordage for a ridge line, and it'll work just fine in most circumstances. You can just string a piece of 550 cord from tree to tree or some kind of cordage, and it'll work under most conditions. But under high winds, under snow, and stuff like that, you would want something a little bit stronger. Plus, for some of your structures, you just want to have something more firm, more stronger to work with. And you saw that I had a ridge line that I made in that kit, and we're going to discuss that a little bit and how to use it. This video is just going to be setting up this ridge line, a demonstration of setting up that ridge line, because in most of the videos that we do, or the different structures I'm going to make, different shelters, we're going to be using this same ridge line setup. So what I had done, you see I started off with about 25 feet of 550 cord, because when you do this it'll shrink in its length. But this is a 3-strand just braided 550 cord, and I got about somewhere between 15 to 20 feet in length. And at the end, at the end where I started, I just knotted it and melted down the 550 cord on itself. And then at the end I made an eye. You see, one end is just the end of a natural end of a rope, but at the other end I created an eye in the rope. Now there's different ways you could do this. You can take it and flip it around and splice or braid into itself to make the eye one piece. Or what I did was, after I made the end of the rope and knotted it, I just opened up the braid, stuck it through. I stuck the rope through first, then I knotted it and burned it down, so that way that 550 cord knot will not come through that. So I have a perfect eye in there. And that just makes it easier to set up, and you'll see in this demonstration and in future demonstrations how easier it helps to have that eye in there when you're setting up these shelters. And this is a good piece of equipment to have pre-made in your kit, made beforehand, so you always have it on hand, not just for setting up shelters, but you can use this for many other uses. You can use this for making clotheslines, hanging equipment, and it's just a stronger, more durable rope than using just regular 1 strand of 550 cord or some other kind of cordage. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just set up the ridge line and use a tarp. And I got an area where I'm going to, we're just going to assume that I want to put my shelter right here. We're not going to discuss clearing the ground or picking a proper spot, but this is just a demonstration on the ridge line itself. But I got 2 trees that I want to put my shelter in between. You want to keep in mind that you want to have some space. You want to have, when you have the length of your tarp or your poncho, whatever you're going to use, you want to have some space between the actual shelter and the trees on both sides, so you have room to work with. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off, and as if I was making a lean-to with my my poncho. I want this to be about chest high for this lean-to, like if I was doing a poncho lean-to, or if I was doing an A-frame, like an A-frame putt tent. So this could work for the top ridge line of a lean-to, and also for like a pup style or an A-frame style tent. And we'll demonstrate those in a future video. But all I did was wrap that around that tree, put it through that eye. That's going to be on there snug. And another good reason for having that braided is that braid actually grips onto the trees, where if you just did this with 1 strand of 550 cord or some kind of cordage, it really wouldn't hold or snag onto that tree. But it really anchors itself down good. I'm going to come across to the other side, keeping it about chest high because I want to see what I'm working with. But over here, I'm not going to tie it permanently. I don't want to tie it tight. I want to have some slack, and you'll see why. I just tied it, nothing special, just some kind of slip knot to hold it in place. That's all I want to do right now. I want to have this a little bit slack for right now. Now, I'll take my poncho and keeping distance. Like I said, you want some distance between the poncho and the end of the poncho on both sides, so you have room to work with and judge and set yourself up. I got my poncho. This is a military issue poncho, pretty heavy, you know, pretty durable. They come with grommets on the corners and on the sides, you know, halfway down the middle. And this is, like I said, if we're making an A-frame, I got this divided straight down the middle. I got the hood on the top. If you're making A-frame, you know, with the poncho, keep your hood outside and tie it down. If you have it upside down and the hood's on the inside, then it's just going to fill up with rainwater. So I got my poncho lined out. I got plenty of working space. Now what I want to do is I want to anchor this poncho. A lot of people will just put this poncho up and not anchor it down to the ridge line. The problem with doing that, you know, a good wind comes in, it can knock your poncho around, and you can lose the structure of your lose the structure and the protection of your shelter. So you want some way to anchor this down, and the way you can do that, and this is why you left some slack in your. This is why we didn't tie this tight, so we can leave some slack in there. Is you want to pinch your ridge line and jam it through. Now some ponchos and tarps have loops, which are great, have little tabs, which are really great if they're sewn into the poncho. But if not, this one only has grommets, so I'm going to pinch and pull my guy line or my ridge line through there. And then you can either take a stick from the ground. I've had some hardwood dowels that I just made 2 toggles with, which I keep with my ridge line, which is great to always have on hand. And now you can put that on. Now that's going to hold it. Now what you can also do with this is tighten it, and we'll do that once we get it all tightened up. That's why you want that space, because after we get the other side done, we're going to tighten up the ridge line itself, and then we could stretch out and tighten and anchor down our poncho. So we're going to come over here, we're going to do the same thing. You don't have to worry about, you know, pulling your poncho taut right now. You don't have to worry about that. Right now we're just anchoring it down, because this is adjustable. This little toggle in here will be adjustable, and we'll do all that after we tighten down the actual ridge line itself. And we got our toggle in. Now we'll come up here and we'll pull our ridge line tight. Alright, so now that I got my poncho secure with my toggles, I'm going to go ahead and secure the other end of the ridge line. I'm just going to pull it tight on the tree, and what we're going to do is a version of the taunt line hitch. And you see I got my running end here, my standing end. I'm going to bring my standing end over the running end, wrap around once, around twice, back up and over the running end, under and through, and pull that down tight. That's going to lock on itself, and it's going to hold tight. I can pinch it and loosen it, or I can grab the knot and pull it tight. And I'm going to pull this whole ridge line tight, get it nice and nice and rigid. Now once we have that, we can go ahead and take our toggles and just work our toggles. All I'm doing is rotating and pulling, and it stretches that toggle out. And it's just pulling that tarp tight. And like I said, this is why you wanted to make sure you had free space to work with. And now you see we have a ridge line up. Now what this ridge line does, setting up a ridge line like this and using one that's pre-made and braided, just gives more strength to your structure, gives more strength to your shelter. You know, where a single strand of 550 cord run through here, or any other cordage with a knot on it, it's going to be a lot looser, it's going to hang down a lot low. If you've got snow or whatnot coming down, it's going to put a lot more weight down. This has more weight to it, it's more durable, and it has more strength to it. And it just holds a lot, it's more stable and just holds a lot more. So that's the ridge line that I use, and these shelters that I'm going to be showing in the next couple videos about shelters are all going to be utilizing this type of ridge line in this fashion, or using this ridge line to construct it, whether it's in a different use than doing it this way. So I hope you learned something. I hope you go out and make one of these ridge lines, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'm Sergeant speaking with Earth Walker Primitive. Thank you.